maybe might need to take it back a step.
Yeah, that's also true. That's a fair point. Yeah, my acoustician told me.
Is this edited right?
Yeah, my acoustician told me it's like, when you get better monitoring, you tend to do less edit, you like less EQ moves, less compression. Like you'll usually let things, and it's so true. Like I got new speakers recently, and I'm like, oh, I don't really need to go as crazy on the EQ as I used to, because I would make these moves and they wouldn't even help. You know what I mean? It was just like how I was monitoring. So.
I think it was like the rule of thumb for like EQ or something was like, if you're making more than like 3 moves on it, then it's like you might need to rethink things. I forgot who I heard that from, but it was like, it just kind of stuck with me, and like my EQ moves tend to be very minimal. I'm either doing like pretty broad cuts, or I'm like doing something very surgical. Like it's not
right.
I'm not doing a whole lot.
Right, you're not doing like a bunch of broads and then a couple of surgicals on the same EQ.
Yeah, like that's crazy. That's crazy talk.
Yeah, let it be. Amazing. So I know that you do some like live sound work as well. Like how has that influenced you, in the studio? Like what would be like the biggest takeaway from doing live sound applicable inside the studio?
Ooh, that's a good one. Sometimes your mic decisions don't matter that much. So, I mean, sometimes it really does, because there's been a few people that, like, they'll come up and they're like, I have my own mic. And you're like, yeah, that's great. And then they pull it out and it's like a Telefunken, and you're just like, oh, cool, my job's got easier. And, they plug it in, and, like, the vocal just kind of sits perfectly on top, and you don't have to really do a whole lot with it. But a lot of times, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, if they're, like, if they have a really strong voice, it wouldn't have mattered anyways.
58 will work always.
58, 57, guitars even, like, sure, you can mic that cab with a 57. You might have to do more work with it or something, but you can also do like a 609. But I mean, they matter, but they also don't matter.
Right, you'll get the result you're going for. It's just a matter of how you're going to get there, basically.
Yeah, basically.
I tracked an acoustic guitar with stereo SM57s recently because it was just like a live percussion acoustic guitar vocal recording, which was like kind of a bizarre setup. It came out really cool with the 57s. I was able to get like a decent, the guy that I was working with, who I guess was like really the producer on the session. I was kind of like the engineer. It's like, yeah, let's try it. Let's go for the 57s in stereo. And I was like, I don't know if you even need stereo, but it actually turned out really pretty dope.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ways to like mic a cabinet, is actually doing like that Friedman mic technique, where you kind of like, you take the two 57s and you like point them like at a 45 degree
XY.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's it's
interesting.
either going to be that or a 609. Like, those are just the two that I lean towards whenever I see a guitar amp or something. I'm just like, oh, okay, we're doing that.
Do you do a bunch of rock recording as well? Because like I feel like you're deep in like the hip hop and EDM world.
So I started off doing more metal stuff maybe 5 or so years ago. So I'm like not entirely super green at it. I don't know, like I just I don't tend to think of it as in terms of like genres like limiting me, you know what I mean? Like it's just
it's all
just
part
sound.
of the same.
Yeah, it's all kind of the same thing, especially because like whenever you get into like those weird acts where it's like they have like acoustic drums and all this stuff, and it's a hip hop act, and it's just like you gotta kind of
everything's
know
on the table.
Yeah, like you gotta know how to do all of it, because it all kind of matters in that scenario.
Absolutely, I love it, man. Well, Thomas, this has been super, super fun and great to meet you in over the internet, maybe in real life one day, as well. I ask this question on every episode, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Looking back on your journey, was there something that you maybe did or didn't do that you want to kind of impart on your earlier self, knowing what you know today? So be like, hey, Thomas, keep at that, or Thomas, maybe don't do that. You'll get to where you want to be faster if you don't do it. What would be that one piece of advice that you would tell your earlier self?
Respect yourself, kid. Like, seriously. Like, honestly, the biggest problems in my life, I can always kind of come back to one key point being like, I didn't respect myself enough in this one situation to not really say what I really wanted or what I really needed. And it came back and bit me in the ass. Respect yourself. Like, you got to do what's right for you. Like it's great and all to be a people pleaser, but at the end of the day, no one else is gonna love you like you would love yourself. So respect yourself.
Say what man. You need. That's a great point. As a people pleaser, a self-admitted people pleaser, I struggle with this a lot because I just want people to be happy, and sometimes I don't take care of myself before other people, and that could lead to issues. So I'm working on that also. So yeah, absolutely, man. It's a good lesson.
It's important to have balance to it too, because I mean, like I feel like there's that fine line between like, you know, self-care and narcissism. So like.
Right.
It's like, I feel like life always kind of comes down to like this weird, like mixing analogy for me where it's like, it's about balance. Like you can't be all in on this one thing because all in on this one thing could be disastrous for you.
Right. Yeah. You know, family's important, but also work is important, but also like, it's like, you gotta, you know, life is very dynamic. It's something that is difficult for, it's difficult for me sometimes. It's like, okay, sometimes you're in a season of like, growth, and sometimes you're in a season of like coasting, and sometimes you're in a season of like, do I reach for this or do I kind of stay where I am, or you know, it's hard to navigate, but I guess we're all working on it one day at a time, you know.
Yeah, that's all you can do is just take it one step at a time, and remember to love yourself at the end of the day. Like loving yourself will help a lot.
Amazing. Well, Thomas, this has been super, super fun. What's the best way to find you on the internet?
So the best way to find me on the internet is probably just go into my website, tommydecibel.com. Tommy Decibel, like kind of how everyone spells Tommy, except for without an I. There's if you need like live sound or something like that, you can book that through events.mwgp@gmail.com. And if you wanted to like read one of our articles or anything like that, you can find us on the producerhive.com, or not the producer hive, but just producerhive.com. If you put nothing will pull up.
Time to buy that domain.
Got a conversation with Sean. All right.
Nice, dude. Social media, people follow you there or less so?
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me on social media. Just look me up, Thomas Weathers. I'm pretty easy to find. Actually, if you Google me, and you should be able to find me. There's not a whole lot of Thomas Weathers out there. I'm pretty easy to find.
Whether they find you or not, you're there. It was a bad, terrible pun. I take it back. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Thomas, super fun to chat with you and get to meet you. And yeah, man, have a good one. Be in touch.
You too. Be safe and all that.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Secret Sonics. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Thomas as much as I did. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our other episodes, I'd super appreciate it if you would go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It really helps the show. And if you could share this episode or your favorite episode with a friend or two, that would also really help the show move forward. In addition to that, you can find us on social media. Just search for Secret Sonics. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. And you can email me at secretsonics@gmail.com if you have any comments, feedback, guests you might want to recommend, anything like that. So that's about it for now. Until next time, I hope you guys have a great week. Stay safe out there and dig in. Bye-bye.